Have you ever watched the exact moment when a tennis superstar realizes the match is slipping completely out of her control? Not against a Grand Slam legend, not against a longtime rival, but against a fearless young challenger who refused to follow the script. Under the bright California sun at Indian Wells, fans expected another routine victory for one of the biggest names in women's tennis, Coco Gauff. Instead, they witnessed something no one saw coming. What unfolded wasn't just an upset. It was a tactical masterpiece. The player responsible? A fearless rising star from the Philippines, Alexandra Eala. What happened that day didn't simply surprise the crowd inside the stadium. It sent shockwaves throughout the entire WTA Tour and forced the tennis world to pay attention to a player who had quietly been building toward this moment for years. But how did an underdog completely dismantle one of the world's elite players? What allowed Alexandra Eala to take control from the very first point and leave one of tennis' brightest stars searching for answers? This wasn't luck. This wasn't a one-match miracle. This was preparation, confidence, and fearless execution colliding at exactly the right moment. Welcome to the beginning of a new chapter in women's tennis. For years, Coco Gauff has been one of the faces of the sport. Blessed with incredible speed, world-class athleticism, and remarkable defensive skills, she has built a reputation for turning impossible situations into spectacular winners. Few players can cover the court the way Gauff does, and even fewer can match her competitive spirit under pressure. But on this day, none of those strengths were enough. Alexandra Eala stepped onto the court with a completely different mindset. She wasn't there to gain experience or enjoy the occasion. She came to compete. More importantly, she came believing she could win. That belief changed everything. Long before this tournament, Eala had already established herself as one of the brightest young talents in international tennis. From dominating the junior circuit to grinding through professional tournaments, every victory had prepared her for an opportunity exactly like this. When the draw revealed a meeting with Coco Gauff in the round of 32, many analysts viewed it as another valuable learning experience for the young Filipina. They expected Gauff to advance comfortably. They underestimated Alexandra Eala. From the opening rally, Eala played with remarkable confidence. She attacked early, dictated the tempo, and consistently pushed Gauff out of her comfort zone. Instead of reacting to Gauff's pace, she created her own. Every aggressive return, every deep ground stroke, and every calculated winner sent a clear message. She wasn't intimidated. She was in control. As the match progressed, frustration began to appear on Gauff's side of the court. The defensive brilliance that usually rescued her from difficult situations simply wasn't working. Eala refused to give her rhythm, constantly applying pressure and forcing difficult decisions. This wasn't simply a great performance by a young player. It was a complete disruption of the established order in women's tennis. Fans have become accustomed to seeing top-ranked stars cruise through the early rounds of major tournaments. Indian Wells has often been a stage where the favorites remind everyone why they belong among the world's best. Alexandra Eala changed that narrative. For the Philippines, this performance carried even greater significance. Tennis has rarely produced global stars from the country, and millions of Filipino fans have followed Eala's journey with enormous pride. Every winner she struck represented more than just another point. It represented possibility. She wasn't just playing for herself. She was inspiring an entire nation. Her fearless performance also exposed an important weakness in Gauff's game. When an opponent refuses to get drawn into extended defensive exchanges and instead attacks relentlessly with precision, even one of the world's best defenders can be forced onto the back foot. In this documentary, we're going to break down exactly how Alexandra Eala accomplished one of the biggest victories of her career. We'll analyze the tactical decisions that disrupted Coco Gauff's rhythm, examine the key moments that shifted momentum, and explore the mental strength required to perform at such a high level against one of the sport's biggest stars. You'll discover how Eala's aggressive game plan neutralized Gauff's athleticism, why every adjustment mattered, and what this breakthrough performance could mean for the future of women's tennis. But to truly understand how this unforgettable upset unfolded, we have to return to where it all began. The opening game. A moment that looked ordinary to almost everyone watching, but contained the first clue that something extraordinary was about to happen. As both players walked toward the baseline, the atmosphere inside Indian Wells was electric. Thousands of fans expected a showcase from the world-class American star. The anticipation was unmistakable. Coco Gauff stepped behind the baseline, bounced the ball, looked across the net, and tossed it high into the brilliant California sky. No one realized that the next few minutes would completely change the story of the match. But instead of the familiar pattern, a powerful serve followed by a commanding winner, something completely unexpected happened. Alexandra Eala didn't simply block the return back into play. She stepped inside the baseline, met the ball astonishingly early, and ripped a fearless return straight at Coco Gauff's feet. It wasn't just an aggressive shot. It was a statement. From the very first point, Eala made one thing perfectly clear. She wasn't going to let one of the world's best players dictate a single rally. That opening return wasn't the product of luck or adrenaline. It was a carefully planned tactical decision that immediately shifted the balance of the match. To understand why it was so effective, you have to understand how Coco Gauff usually wins tennis matches. Gauff thrives when she has time. Her extraordinary speed allows her to chase down shots that most players would never reach. She absorbs pace, sends heavy topspin balls deep into the court, and patiently waits for opponents to become frustrated. Eventually, they overhit, lose patience, or leave a short ball that she attacks with precision. It is a formula that has broken the confidence of countless opponents. But Alexandra Eala and her team arrived with a completely different blueprint. Their objective wasn't to outlast Gauff. It was to take time away from her. By standing close to the baseline and striking the ball immediately after the bounce, Eala effectively made the court feel smaller. Every deep ground stroke from Gauff was met with a flat, penetrating reply that rushed the American's preparation and denied her the time she normally relies upon. Instead of allowing Gauff to settle into defensive exchanges, Eala forced her to react. Point after point, game after game, the pressure continued to build. One area of Gauff's game has occasionally come under scrutiny during high-pressure matches, her forehand under relentless pace. Eala recognized that vulnerability and attacked it without hesitation. Rather than spreading the ball randomly around the court, she repeatedly targeted that side with depth and precision. Whenever Gauff produced a shorter reply, Eala stepped inside the court and finished the rally with authority. It was disciplined. It was fearless. And above all, it was incredibly effective. Executing such a strategy on one of the biggest stages in tennis is far easier said than done. Many players create the perfect game plan, only to abandon it once the pressure begins to mount. Eala never wavered. She looked calm between every point, never rushed, never emotional, and never intimidated by the occasion. As the first set unfolded, an incredible role reversal began to take shape. Coco Gauff, the player who usually dictated matches, was suddenly the one searching for answers. After Eala earned an early break of serve, the atmosphere inside the stadium noticeably changed. Excitement turned into disbelief. The crowd had expected a routine performance from the American star. Instead, they were watching an underdog completely control the tempo. Gauff repeatedly glanced toward her player's box, searching for reassurance. Her movements became less confident, and frustration slowly crept into her body language. Meanwhile, Eala continued walking confidently to the baseline, completely committed to the strategy that had brought her this far. The defining moment of the opening set arrived with Eala leading 4-2. Champions often raise their level in moments like these. Everyone expected Gauff to respond with the intensity that has made her one of the world's elite competitors. She increased the pace of her ground strokes. She attempted to push Eala farther behind the baseline. She mixed in higher, heavier balls, hoping to disrupt the Filipina's timing. But nothing worked. Instead of becoming nervous, Eala became even more aggressive. She stepped forward, attacked every opportunity, and even intercepted high-bouncing shots with confident swinging volleys that electrified the crowd. It was fearless tennis. Every aggressive strike sent another message across the net. She wasn't protecting the lead. She was extending it. Moments later, Eala broke serve once again, stripping away any momentum Gauff hoped to build before calmly serving out the opening set. 6-2. The scoreboard told an unbelievable story. One of the biggest names in women's tennis had been completely outplayed. The stadium fell into a stunned silence as fans struggled to process what they had just witnessed. Still, one major question remained. Could Alexandra Eala possibly maintain this incredible level? Tennis history is filled with underdogs who play one magical set before reality catches up with them. Against an opponent as accomplished as Coco Gauff, most expected the American to regroup, make adjustments, and completely change the direction of the match. That comeback never arrived. If anything, the second set became even more remarkable. From the opening game, Eala tightened her grip on the contest. She attacked immediately, earning another service break before Gauff had the chance to settle. Her backhand was firing with unbelievable accuracy, finding sharp angles that even one of the fastest players in the world struggled to reach. Every rally seemed to end the same way. Eala attacking, Gauff defending, and the pressure continuing to build. The frustration on Gauff's face became impossible to ignore. The athletic defense that had carried her to the top of the sport was being dismantled by an opponent who simply refused to back down. Eala confidently held serve to consolidate the break and surged ahead 2-0, placing herself firmly in command of one of the most memorable performances of her young career. At that point, the question was no longer whether Alexandra Eala could win. The question had become just how historic this victory was about to be. The scoreboard told a story that almost nobody expected. 6-2, 2-0. It wasn't simply that Coco Gauff was trailing. She was being outplayed in virtually every aspect of the match. The baseline exchanges that usually favored the American now belonged to Alexandra Eala. The rallies were shorter, the pace was dictated by the Filipina, and every tactical adjustment seemed to work perfectly in her favor. For one of the world's premier hardcourt players, it was an unfamiliar position to be in. So how did this happen? How did a player ranked well outside the very top of the game step onto one of tennis' biggest stages and take complete control against one of the WTA Tour's brightest stars? The answer goes far beyond aggressive shot-making. It lies in preparation. It lies in adaptation. And most importantly, it lies in learning from defeat. To truly appreciate what Alexandra Eala accomplished at Indian Wells, we have to rewind the calendar. Because this wasn't the first meeting between these two players. Only weeks earlier, they had faced each other at the Dubai Tennis Championships. That match looked nothing like this one. Gauff controlled nearly every exchange, using her athleticism, depth, and relentless court coverage to earn a convincing straight-set victory. Eala struggled to find rhythm, and the gap between the established star and the rising prospect appeared significant. For many observers, that result confirmed what they already believed. Coco Gauff belonged among the elite. Alexandra Eala still had plenty of work to do. But champions are often defined less by how they win than by how they respond after losing. Instead of accepting defeat, Eala and her coaching team treated that match like a blueprint. Every rally was reviewed. Every mistake was analyzed. Every weakness in Gauff's patterns became an opportunity. They didn't return to the practice court looking for more power. They returned looking for better answers. That preparation became visible from the opening point at Indian Wells. Rather than engaging in predictable baseline exchanges, Eala introduced constant variation into the match. She mixed pace. She changed height. She altered spin. And when Gauff settled several feet behind the baseline, Eala unveiled perhaps the most effective weapon of the afternoon, the drop shot. Again and again, she disguised the shot beautifully, forcing Gauff to sprint forward from deep behind the baseline. Instead of allowing the American to defend comfortably, Eala repeatedly dragged her into uncomfortable positions where she couldn't dictate play. Each successful drop shot accomplished more than winning a single point. It chipped away at Gauff's confidence. Suddenly, every deep position behind the baseline became a potential liability. Every rally carried uncertainty. And uncertainty is something even the very best players dislike. By constantly changing the rhythm of the match, Eala prevented Gauff from settling into the patterns that normally make her so dangerous. The American was forced to think instead of react. She was constantly adjusting instead of attacking. That hesitation slowly spread into other parts of her game, most noticeably her serve. As Eala continued building scoreboard pressure, Gauff's service games became increasingly difficult. Her ball toss appeared less consistent. Her timing became rushed. The search for easy points only created more frustration. Double faults began appearing at the worst possible moments, gifting Eala valuable opportunities to extend her advantage. In matches between elite competitors, momentum often decides everything. Once confidence begins to slip, every mistake feels larger than the one before. Eala recognized that shift immediately. Rather than becoming cautious with the lead, she became even more aggressive, refusing to give Gauff any opportunity to recover. Then came another dramatic moment. Late in the opening set, Gauff requested a medical timeout after experiencing discomfort in her arm and shoulder. The stadium fell noticeably quieter as the trainer evaluated her condition. Professional tennis places enormous physical demands on every athlete, and injuries can arise at any point during a long season. Whatever physical discomfort Gauff was experiencing, one fact remained clear. Long before the medical timeout, Alexandra Eala had already established control of the match. She had dictated the pace. She had controlled the rallies. She had executed her game plan with remarkable discipline. The timeout did not change the direction of the contest. It merely interrupted it. When play resumed, Eala showed no signs of losing focus. She continued attacking with confidence, striking clean winners, absorbing pressure, and forcing Gauff to play from uncomfortable positions. For a player competing against one of the sport's biggest names, her composure was extraordinary. There were no visible nerves, no hesitation, no panic. She played with the maturity of someone who believed she belonged on the biggest stage. And perhaps that was the most impressive part of all. This wasn't just a talented young player having the match of her life. This looked like a player announcing that she intended to stay among the elite. Because victories like this are remembered for far more than the final score. They change perceptions. They alter rankings. They reshape expectations. And sometimes, they mark the beginning of an entirely new chapter in a player's career. As the California crowd watched this remarkable performance unfold, it became increasingly clear that they weren't simply witnessing one of the biggest upsets of the tournament. They were witnessing the arrival of a genuine contender. The question was no longer whether Alexandra Eala belonged on this stage. The question had become how far this remarkable breakthrough could carry her and what it meant for the future of women's tennis.